Hey, folks, little thought for today. This one is particularly for the men. Most of what I have to share is for a non gender specific audience. But lately, to be honest, I've been thinking about men, about us continuing to grow and grow up. And, um, and so, as I think about that myself and for others, I want to just reflect some. And this will probably not be the last time you'll hear me look specifically at things related to men. But I want to just spend a couple moments today in the book of Titus. I'll be preaching on this on Sunday, and so I was spending some time with it, of course, and just want to share a couple thoughts or just reminders really from Titus chapter 2. It's not that I have necessarily a ton to add to it. I more just want to point your attention towards it. If you were to ask me, broadly, what's Titus all about? I can remember him in the beginning, Paul instructing Titus about appointing overseers and some general stuff, but not a lot of specific stuff. The letter to Titus can kind of easily get lost, but there's a lot of good stuff in here. And so in chapter 2 is a couple things specifically related to that we'll look at today to men, both older men and younger men. And there's guidance for women as well, but we're focusing on men here today. And so I just want to kind of point your attention towards these couple of things. Here's what he says, Paul, the author of this letter, says to Titus: teach the older men to be temperate, worthy of respect, self-controlled, and sound in faith, and love, and endurance. So this is interesting to think about, and I want to continue to probably throw out the question or the idea of, what does it mean to be a man? What are the characteristics of being a man, or masculinity in a biblical sense? Because sometimes culture tells us one thing or gives us a particular set of characteristics or things that are important. But I'm more concerned about what the Bible has to say about it. And so there's a concern here that older men, whatever exactly that means, is not a strict kind of age bracket here, but he does specifically address the older and the younger, which is kind of an interesting thing. And these words can be translated in different ways, and perhaps looking at the possibilities across different translations could be a helpful thing that you could do if you find this particularly worth digging into. But you get, I think, a sense here, and it's not so much about this is like an exclusive list, so like these are the only things that that matter or of concern. But I think oftentimes in the Bible, in the New Testament, when there's a series of things kind of put together like this, it's intended more to give us a picture of the kind of person that we are sort of looking for, right? So the idea of being kind of temperate, self-controlled, serious, worthy of respect, right? That's an interesting phrase or word. It can be translated differently in different translations, but I like this. We're oftentimes taught to respect our elders. It's kind of an old-fashioned phrase that we still hear around. But what the scripture here wants to say to those older men is not just demand respect, but be worthy of respect, right? Be the kind of person who lives a life that calls for respect, not just because you're old, but because of character, right? Because we've grown up as we get older. And as we'll look in just a second here, at the instructions for younger men, a concern sometimes in our lives is that we don't grow up. So we need to be really careful that as the years go by, that for us guys, that we're not stuck as teenagers or young people as far as our lack of development into older age. And sadly, that happens, right? That happens around us. We can probably think of people that we've encountered who are older in years, but have not done the work of growing up. And on the flip side, when we meet people who really have done their work, to use that phrase, who have walked with the Lord, who are mature and worthy of respect, it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And I know several people like that, and it's a joy to experience them. So teach the older men to be temperate, worthy of respect, self-controlled, sound in faith, in love, and endurance, right? Perseverance, this idea of kind of hanging on in the midst of the ups and downs in life, right? And being loving. Being loving is not a feminine trait. It is a biblical trait, and it is a masculine trait as well in this context. Okay, last little section. This comes in the same chapter of Titus chapter 2. He says this: encourage the young men to be self-controlled. Surprise, surprise, right? Because, and just to pause there for a second, because if we don't learn to be self-controlled as young men, we're going to still not be self-controlled as younger men. Now, what does that look like is a great question. I can think of things like this. Being self-controlled is that you don't just do everything that you feel like you want to do. It's easy for us to just not think about others, not think about responsibility, not think about, if I buy this, what's the implication going to be later? If I do this, what are the implications going to be? To be self-controlled, right? To not pursue things that are not good for us, to discipline ourselves, right? Whether that be, again, relationally, financially, spiritually, physically, self-controlled. That the power of God's Spirit gives us the ability to do that. All right, verse 7. In everything, set them an example. Sorry, there's a little footnote A there on the end. It doesn't belong there. This is so Paul's saying now, verse 7 here, to Titus, as someone who's there as a ministry representative of their kind of co-worker ministry team. He's telling Titus now, set them, who's them? The younger men. You set them an example by doing what is good, right? By doing what is good, right? So the example is not only the words out of our mouths, although that's a part of it too. We'll see that right here, but our actions, an example of doing what is good. And so I don't want to hear any of this. Don't look at me. I don't want to be an example. I don't want to be whatever. That is not what the Bible teaches. We need to set ourselves as examples, not of perfection, but of people who are growing and maturing and seeking to do what is good. That is the theme across the letter to Titus. I'm seeing it very clearly in my broader study, right? In everything, your whole life, set them an example by doing what is good. In your teaching, show integrity, seriousness, and soundness of speech. Again, like in the other section, if you read different translations, these words will be translated differently. And doing that is a helpful way to kind of get the breadth or a grasp on kind of what is being intended here with these particular words. But in any case, without doing all that specific work, you get a picture of the kind of concerns that Paul has for Titus to share regarding young men so that they grow up into being old men who are people of character, right? Who are peoples whose examples, whose good deeds, good work, the things that we do and the things that we say have integrity. They have weight to them, right? They have gravity. And that's the kind of thing that when we encounter someone who has a life formed around character, who has responded to God's grace and work in their lives by becoming people of love, of words that build up and challenge, rather than are superficial and tear down, that do things that are good. And so that as we look to the examples of others, and that we ourselves are growing to be those kind of examples, that our sons and daughters, people around us, see us as people of integrity, that our faith and our life is shaped in a way that we are becoming men worthy of respect. So hopefully that's challenging to you today, encouraging, but reflect on these words as we walk out this journey of life together. If you have any questions, thoughts, want to talk about this at all, reach out to me. I'd love to do it. And I hope you have a great day.